Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Deja Vu here, along with Varoche, and we are going to bring you the first dual commentary of our epic attempt at casting the entire MSL, all 8 groups, plus the round of 16 and onwards as they come. Looks like I believe we've got 5 groups casted so far. We've got Group D here, the Group of Death, and then 2 more that will get done later on. And the first game from this series is going to be C versus Jaedong, and the game is just starting. And unfortunately, I don't have a countdown to give me a place to sync up to, but the player's name are there and accept. There we go. So that will be how I sync up. So this should be a fun game. C and Jaedong on La Mancha, and obviously I think you gotta favor Jaedong because, well, C is the only member in this group who's not part of TBLS, the Take Bang Lee Sang crew. So are you giving C more of a chance in this game than a lot of people are, Varosh? Because I gotta say, I don't see him getting out of this game or this group.
Well, I wouldn't say he has a great chance, but C is really good, and he's kind of an underrated player because a lot of people just watch the Star Leagues and don't watch a lot of Pro League. C is a very good player, and in the past he says he hasn't really cared that much about Pro League, but this time he said in an interview at the group selection that he did care, that he was going to try, that he was going to bring all of his practice to preparing for these matches and do his best in this group. So maybe, just maybe, he has a chance, but he's playing Jaedong now, and he has to play, in all likelihood, the loser of Flash and Bisu just for the chance to stay in the MSL. So it's going to be certainly really, really difficult. But he has beaten Jaedong in the past, and he has beaten Bisu in the past a couple of times. He's not at such a big disadvantage against them that pretty much everybody in professional gaming is, aside from like the other people among the big 3 and maybe Stork and Fantasy and just a couple few select Gosus. But I'm really excited about this game because C would kind of be such an amazing Cinderella story if he was able to get out of this group, and I'm kind of hoping for that, just so that all the fanboys get upset.
That would be pretty amazing. If he got out of this group and you had 2 of Flash BC Jaedong that got left out, people would be out in the streets rioting. It would be nuts. But yeah, that would be pretty sweet. So I'm just going to give a little story now because of how C ended up in this group, how we actually got this group of death to even occur, because I think the beginning of this game is going to be pretty standard. I don't think we're going to see any cheese, so, well, alright, never mind. Looks like I'm not going to get a chance to. I will tell the story at a later time because C, I believe, just 14 CC'd. So this actually is kind of interesting. So 14 CC versus a 12 hatch, and is this 3 hatch before pool? Frosh, is this 3 hatch before pool? I think it is. There it is. So 14cc versus 3 hatch before pool, 2 pure economic builds by 2 incredible players. This is only going to lead to a very, very entertaining and fun mid-game, I gotta say. It might be a little boring here for the next few minutes as they macro up, but the mid-game, I think, is going to be so entertaining between these 2.
Yeah, normally we'd expect that Jaedong to just go for a 12 hatchery and then a pool right after that. It's very fortuitous that he did go for this 3 hatchery before pool because it's going to give him kind of equal production and economy to see. Normally, if a Terran gets away with a 14cc, they end up pretty far ahead, but that's not going to be the case because Jaedong also going for a blindly over-economic build, and the drone is going to see what's up, going to see that command center, and I don't know why C really tried to hide it there, because as soon as it gets scouted, as soon as a drone comes in and sees how late the barracks are, they're going to know exactly what's going on. So Jaedong's going to run that drone around forever in the base, and we'll see exactly how C transitions out of this, whether or not he's going to do medic marine or mech play now that he has the solid 2 base economy. And C's probably going to, he's securing that with a bunker because he has no idea what Jaedong's gone for, so he thinks there could be Zerglings coming in at any moment, although that is not the case. He's going to go and see that he might not even know that it was a 3 hatchery before pool, because by the time he gets there, all the infrastructure will be up, and maybe he'll notice the late lair, and maybe he won't, but he might think that he's at a bigger advantage than he actually is.
You know, I actually don't know a lot about. I've never really seen enough C games. Like, I've seen a bunch of them, but I haven't seen enough of his TVZs to know for sure. Does he actually go a mech a lot? I've always thought of him as more of an M&M kind of guy. The mech play is pretty recent, maybe a year and a half that the mech play has been popular, so I haven't really seen C go mech a lot. I don't know, have you seen C go mech? I always thought that he was just an M&M kind of guy.
I always see CC, wow, that's bad. Also, that's a command center. C almost always goes Medic Marine, but the Vulture Mine build is getting so popular and it's so powerful that it's almost become standard nowadays. So if we see him go for Vultures and Mines, that certainly wouldn't surprise me. But he's probably just going to go for his bread and butter Medic Marine play that he perfected it like a couple of years ago and has just been doing it so well since then that he hasn't really needed to experiment with factory builds as pretty much every other Terran has.
He's like the anti-fantasy. Fantasy goes with mech builds and then experiments occasionally with Medic Marine. And if you've watched Pro League recently, a couple days ago, or maybe even just a day ago, SKT versus KT. A little bit of a spoiler here, alert. When Fantasy, he was playing like. Who was he playing? Action, I think. And he was playing Action, and he went Medic Marine, and it was some of the worst Marine control I've seen in a while. Like, you start watching that, and you're just like, why aren't you just building Vultures and tanks, Fantasy? You are very upsetting. And C, again, I think is like the opposite way. He'll just go Medic Marine, and he's got great control, and he should be well in shape. I've seen C beat Jaedong straight up with Medic Marine. I've definitely seen that before. If he can get a good push on, take out the third base, and kind of contain Jaedong, that's how I remember him beating Jaedong in the past. So if he can do something like that again, he's starting to get up 4 barracks here, and if he can really get going, I mean, there's definitely a good possibility of him taking down Jaedong. Jaedong cannot take this opponent lightly, that's for sure.
Yeah, he definitely can't take C lightly, and if he gets caught thinking ahead towards, I got to play the winner of Flash versus Bisu, he might get caught up. He's got a bunch of links roaming around the map now with speed upgrade, and he's getting his mutas out right about now. They're going to come out momentarily, and C tried to do a little push out onto the map, but he hasn't really gotten anything done. I don't even know if he forced any sunken colonies. He is building a factory now. No, never mind. I thought it was like, there's a factory, but that's just for science vessels, of course. So yeah, Jaedong has the one creep colony, didn't even morph that into a sunken, so C pushing out did put absolutely no pressure on Jaedong. He didn't feel any pressure at all, and now Jaedong's mutas have hatched and they are coming out, and if C doesn't keep his Marines in his base, he could get surrounded by the Lings at the same time the mutas come in, and that could be just terrible for him, but I've never seen C lose that so badly, but here it comes. Where are the Lings? It looks like they're coming down here for a flank, and C might just lose his first Medic Marine force if the Lings come in and flank just perfectly.
Wow, it doesn't even look like he needed the links to come in. Those mutas were microed perfectly, just not enough Marines and medics there in that group. And that first medic Marine group goes down without even a fight, really. They didn't even kill all the Zerglings. Usually you see most, if not all, the Zerglings die in that kind of a fight, but they are all alive. And now C is really going to be working from behind here. This is going to be a tough road back for him. Losing that first medic Marine group is always difficult, but to do it against a 3-hatch before pool is even tougher. Now he's going to lose a second group here. These Mutilas are absolutely tearing through the Marines. Actually, the Marines are doing a lot of damage back, so both players are losing a lot of forces here. The Marines actually do have that quick +1 weapons that has become very popular, and I think that just kicked in. I think C was hoping that would maybe kick in a few seconds earlier, but and Jaedong obviously didn't notice that with the first group, but the second group it did have it and picked off more Mutilas than he was expecting. So it looks like Jaedong's not going to be able to continue with the Mutilas harassment too much, but he is transitioning to Lurkers, does have this third base in the top left pretty well secured here, and now he's got to be looking into getting into more of a lurker play. When does he decide to go to Hive and that sort of play? He's really looking towards the late game already. Jaedong can, and he does see the 2 starports coming up for the dual science vessel, so he knows that there's going to be limited tanks here. So that was actually one of the most valuable Zerglings that you'll see in StarCraft. That Zergling seeing 2 starports with control towers is very, very important for Jaedong.
Yeah, and C going for the SK Terran build where he does have a machine shop, but he's not going to have enough gas to produce out of 2 ports with science vessels and get any tanks out. So it looks like he is going for the Vulture Mine. So I think that's the first factory unit we might have ever seen C build in a Terran versus Zerg. But he is just going to get some Vultures to lay mines all around the map and hope to catch Zerglings, and if he's really lucky, some lurkers with that. And Jaedong, he did really well with his mutas initially, but then in the second engagement, he lost a lot of them to those +1 upgraded Marines, to the point where he doesn't even have enough mutas left to actually pick off a Marine in one shot. Not even a Marine that only has 40 HP. So it looks like Jaedong is going to get lurkers on the ramp. He's got to burrow that lurker. That'd be the worst micro
No,
ever
it's
to
blocking.
lose a lurker
It's
to
stopping the
Vulture.
run by.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's a great call. I didn't realize a lurker was fat enough to stop a run by. That's actually brilliant by Jaedong, and here I am mocking him. I am so sorry, Jaedong fans.
I know, I saw that. I was actually thinking that was like a sweet play. I was getting so concerned that you weren't going to catch it. I had to interrupt there for a moment, and as a lurker goes down there. And the dropship looks like it's going to go down, but it does manage to get some troops in. But that really was a really cool play by Jaedong. If those vultures get in there, that sunken colony wasn't going to be up in time. That could have been a lot of drone kills. So that actually was a pretty important play here. So a lot of the little things, that Zergling getting in there, seeing the true SK build, that lurker getting the drop, and a lot of these little victories for Jaedong are going to start piling up. If C isn't able to counter, losing that dropship, all these little things are just the small victories in StarCraft that slowly build up into just a unstoppable advantage for a player, and that's something that has to concern C right here. I would not be surprised at all to see him go for another dropship and try and do we joke about it sometimes, the Terran dropship win. Just drop some Marines, medic Marine right into a Zerg place, take down tech buildings one by one, and sometimes you can win a game just with one or two dropships. So I would not be at all surprised to see CC go for that kind of a play once again, or at least try to attempt it here in this game.
Yeah, I really like this double port play out of C. He's going to get so many vessels out, and Jaedong's really going to have to be at the tip-top shape of his Scourging to deal with that. He's getting a Nidus up in his third, and I think he's planning on taking a fourth somewhat soon. He's got the Defiler Mound up, and he's produced some Scourge. Uncharacteristically bad Muta control for Jaedong that he doesn't have any Mutas left. The last 2 or 3 that he had just suicided over a Marine group while they weren't being really controlled. And the vessels are out and killing some lurkers. 2 lurkers already down, and that vessel count cannot get any higher, or Jaedong can't afford to let that vessel count get much higher. Nidusing up all over. I think he just constructed another Nidus canal, so he's going to have 2 Nidus canals. I don't know where that second one's going to be too. But C picked up that third base, and I don't even think Jaedong scouted it yet, so he either needs to deal some damage to C or pick up a fourth relatively soon, or he's going to start to fall behind in this game. Of course, at equal economies, the Terran's at a huge advantage.
I don't think that's going to be too much of a worry here, because it looks like Jaedong has taken the top left natural. If he can hold it, the vessels and Medic Marine are heading in here. Vulture's trying to go for a little bit of a run by, and they actually might get by. Nope, there are a couple Hydras on the ramp, and these lurkers are actually going to do a lot of damage, and they actually, look at that, they are taking out a lot of Marines, but there are still a few left, and no, too many lurkers. Not good enough lurker splits by C. One of the rare occasions where you'll see C actually slip up in his Medic Marine control versus lurkers. He's actually got some really good splits, but it looks like he misguessed really how many lurkers were really back there. I think he maybe didn't think that there was another 1 or 2 in the back that really just shred through his troops, so he loses another Medic Marine force. It looks like he's actually started to mix in a couple of tanks into his force as well. We saw the second factory go up, so we could actually slowly see a kind of at least a tank influx, and that could actually catch Jaedong by surprise if he's not paying close enough attention. Looks like this lurker got irradiated, so he's just going to pass it by. But C is still probing to deal that first big blow to his opponent. He just hasn't been able to. Neither of them really have, but it just feels, I'm just watching this, and it just feels like Jaedong's getting more of the little victories than C time and time again. And I'm starting to get that feeling that maybe C is going to end up in kind of a bad spot here, as we do see a Greater Spire coming up for Jaedong.
Oh, I'm really excited about that Greater Spire. Guardian play actually getting a little bit of a revival, and Jaedong is one of those players that has always thought it was a good idea, usually because he keeps his Mutalisk alive a lot better than other players. Jaedong did get up into the top right and scout C, trying to pick up a fourth. He scouted that with a drone, and it looks like he's going for a huge drop. We had no indication until now that drop tech had been upgraded, going in with 6 Overlords, and is that going to be scouted by the barracks? I think the Overlords get by without the barracks having any knowledge of that, and he's going to get into the main, and he might be able to take out all the tech and all of the production of C. Here he comes now, and he could supply cap C. He could do so much, and it looks like C's committing to a counterattack, but Jaedong's pretty well defended at his natural expansion, a lot better than C is defended in his main. Great swarm that's going to delay the attack so long. He's going to have to, great plagues on all of the supply depots, going to kill all of those supply depots really quick so that C cannot produce any reinforcements, and C just getting completely repelled from Jaedong's natural expansion. This is looking terrible for C.
This is looking really, really bad. This is going to be really troublesome. And those supply depots are actually at risk of burning down. It does look like C's going to clean this up. I'll give him that. It looks like he's going to clean this up. He's got the vessels in play. It looks like he's got most of the lurkers irradiated. There wasn't, I don't think there's any more defilers left in that attack. So it looks like he's going to clean that up. But those supply depots and perhaps even that academy might burn down, which would be a huge harm to him. If he's not able to continuously produce more medics and things, that could be a huge problem for him. And it looks like that academy is burning down. He needs to save that. He does not want to be stuck without medics. That would be a real problem. And he has cleaned this up, and that takes care of all of those. And some Scourge looking like they're going to move in, maybe try and pick up a couple of these vessels that are stuck inside the main. At the same time, I think Jaedong has noticed this base at the 3 o'clock position. He has an Overlord in position there. Do we have lurkers in there, perhaps, for a drop? That would be very, very cool, but I don't know if there's anything actually in there. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything actually in there. And it doesn't look like Jaedong really has a lot of forces on the field. And C, at the top right, perhaps has a couple factories up there because there's a whole huge influx of tanks suddenly appearing out of nowhere. And this is such an old school thing I've seen from Terran players where they just take this base and take another main, built a bunch of factories with tanks in there, and they just siege them up all over the place. And by the time a Zerg player notices there's just so many tanks that they can't even, like, break it. And, wow, it looks like C's actually going to get away with that. So that is some cool play with C as he goes in here for the harassment with a couple of lurkers that are probably just going to get irradiated, but at least for a little while C's not going to have mining at that base. So C's looking pretty good once again. I mean, neither player is taking a dominating advantage, but C's looking like he controlled that drop, didn't take nearly as much damage as it could have done, provided he kept that academy alive. And with that top right base operational, I think C's got to at least be pretty happy with this play so far.
C's just lost his science facility, actually. He was using that to scout around the map, but that has been destroyed since then. So I don't know if he's going to be able to make any more vessels, but it looks like he could... Oh, huge drop going at the 3 o'clock, getting a swarm down, and there's only one tank there, so he's probably going to be able to take out that base. Getting some Scourge on vessels, picking off one and putting the other into the red, and... it looks like that's going to be pretty problematic for C, and considering he lost that science facility, he's not going to... yeah, we see neither of the starports were producing right there, so it looks like he might be doing a full switchover into the late game mech that also has been becoming more popular from Terran, getting a bunch of tanks out onto the field and killing every single science vessel. That is huge. C has no science vessels and doesn't even have the infrastructure to make any science vessels at this point, and meanwhile he's completely lost mining it at his 3 o'clock, consuming an Overlord. That is a hefty meal for that defiler, but the 3 o'clock is no longer mining, and of course the main is no longer mining for C, so C starting to hurt economically. Is Jaedong going to be able to just starve C out until the only mining base is the top right?
That's what it certainly looks like, because C's main and natural have got to be close to mined out at this point, if not already mined out. There's no 6 o'clock, there's no 3 o'clock, there's about 7 Guardians that have shown up to start covering these base at the top right, and that, I think, is going to force the GG. Look at that. Those Guardians are just going to be too much. Going to take down the top right base. There will be no mining for C, and that's got to be it. I can't imagine C staying in this any longer. He didn't play poorly, but it just did not have it. I can't see him staying in this any longer. Just really can't. Those Guardians are going to wipe out that base. Look at that. Those tanks just falling one by one, and any second now. Where is it? Where's the GG? Where is it, Varosh? There it is. There's the GG. So that's it. Jaedong advances into the winner's match, and C will go into, what did we call it? We renamed the loser's match into what, Varosh?
The elimination match.
I love it, and that's where C is heading. Yeah, next game is going to be Bisa versus Flash. Any last thoughts, Varosh?
Yeah, my last thought is that was brilliant by Jaedong. He let C switch over to tanks, gave him no indication that he was planning on building any air units, and then just built a huge clump of Guardians and won the game with it. Beautiful play by Jaedong.